Let's cut to the chase. One of the video games that keeps on giving in 2024, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, has doing more than just simply killing the Justice League. Also, Warner Brothers Games and Warner Brothers Discovery, to be specific. So yeah, WBD reports a game division saw a 41% decline in revenue as Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League has lost 98% of its player base. Oh my god, David Zaslav came out, what was that, at the end of Q1, saying that this game ended up costing us $200 million. What do you think is going to happen at the end of this planned content spree? Because we know that the 13 planned seasons, well, that ain't going to happen. But how much more is going to happen after lesbian Mrs. Freeze, okay, the gender and race swapped standout character of Batman's Rogues Gallery? Okay, what's going to be happening? You've jettisoned 98% of your audience. How do you even do that, man? Like, Destiny 2 is collapsing in front of our very eyes. Helldivers 2 doing the exact same stuff. Even other Sweet Baby Inc. influenced games, Tales of Kenzara, Flintlock, they aren't even dropping off like that. That's crazy. Warner Brothers Discovery continued to admit that Sweet Baby Inc. influenced Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was a disaster for the company. I know, I basically watched an entire playthrough of the game, Care of Mahler, earlier this year, and yeah, I heard the writing. It was atrocious. And who was the lead writer on the team? Oh, right, Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Belair. It's right there in black and white. There's no assumptions. There's no way to weasel out of this. Sweet Baby Inc. and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League developer Rocksteady Games were in bed together, and this was the demon spawn that ended up coming out. The company's earnings released a Q2 of 2024, the company revealed its games division revenue declined 41%. Yo! It states games revenue declined 41% year over year, right? Okay, primarily driven by the weak performance of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League this year, compared to the strong performance of Hogwarts Legacy the year prior, which, funnily enough, okay, something else that was announced at the time of this disaster was, Portkey Games is going to be working on a sequel to Hogwarts Legacy. That's great. You know, please don't completely lose faith in our games division. On top of the revelation that their revenue declined 41%, the company's CFO, Gunnar Weidenfels, commented during the company's earnings call, while we've called out last quarter, games are still struggling against last year's Hogwarts Legacy, the best-selling game of the year, guys, okay? So we still got a little bit of a cushion, right? Oh no, our film division is, still digging into our profits, and we were hoping that the games would, hopefully bolster us in the time when we're firmly entrenching our position as the most desperate entertainment company in the world. Oh, damn. While as well, we called out last quarter games. There's also been a muted response to Suicide Squad this year. I mean, that's one way to put a game that topped out at 13,000 concurrent players. Not good. Not good for a game this expensive. Company CEO and president of Global Streaming and Games, J.B. Peretti, also addressed the game on the call as well and said the reality is we've had the unfortunate in the short period of 12 months. We went from having a record year in 2023 with Hogwarts Legacy to unfortunately having the opposite side of the spectrum with Suicide Squad. Well, at least they're honest. I gotta give them props for that because there really is no way to polish this turd. It's like, I guess you could come out and say you've got the best performing DC related game of the year. You've got the best performing game featuring the Suicide Squad in 2024. That would be how Lucasfilm would go ahead and spin it. No, they did the exact same thing with The Acolyte. It's the best performing live action Star Wars feature to come out this year. It's the only one to come out this year. The only one. Jesus. He shared, starting with the studios, the 400 million, I beg your pardon, plus year over year decline. Oh, imagine losing out on $400 million year over year, primarily due to the very tough competition we faced in games against the success of Hogwarts Legacy last year. Okay, now, here's the thing. Outside of the indie darlings that just popped up from the AA space, okay, Pal World, Helldivers 2, there's no real AAA competition that would have stifled this game. Everything else was coming out in different genres. You had Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Doesn't really have a lot of crossover. And then you had all the fighting games that came out last year that are continuing to sell well into this year, including Tekken 8 that launched at the beginning of the year. But all of those are different genres. What was it, the top 10? Had a bunch of sports games. Call of Duty's its own beast, and that's the only competition in the shooter space. So to say that, hey, it was a really crowded field at the beginning of the year, well, that's just a lie. You were wide open for success, but instead of walking the ball into the end zone, you decided to spike it at the 5-yard line and give yourself a Daryl Stingley type makeover. Holy. Yeah, leading to a $200 million impact of EBITDA during the first quarter. Yeah, we lost $200 million on this disaster. Back during the company's 2023 quarter 4 earnings call, the company's CEO, David Zaslav, also hinted that the game was a big miss for the company on the theatrical and gaming side. While we did have some real misses this year, hey, I do appreciate the honesty. Okay. We also had some really big wins, including Barbie, yes, the #1 movie globally and successfully, in the history of Warner Brothers, and Hogwarts Legacy, the biggest game of 2023. But then you also had Blue Beetle, Shazam 2. Remember that came out last year? That's kind of crazy. Aquaman 2 ended up overperforming incredibly low expectations. And The Flash, what was at one point in time the most expensive film in history, being a cataclysmic bomb that just ended up getting overshadowed by the likes of the Marvels and Indiana Jones 5. Like, Warner had an incredibly bad year, bolstered by Barbie and Hogwarts Legacy. They aren't going to have that same type of success this year. Weidenfeld would confirm it later in the call. This year, Suicide Squad, one of our key video game releases in 2024, has fallen short of our expectations since its release earlier this quarter, setting our games business up for a tough year-over-year competition in quarter 1 and quarter 2 and quarter 3 and anyways, the game had an all-time peak concurrent base of 13,459 players in the last 24 hours. 229 people are deciding to check this out. That's a decline of over 98%. Yo, that is crazy, man. Okay, because even the last time we were talking about the launch of Mrs. Freeze, it was somewhere in the 500 player range. Not great at all whatsoever, but something that I guess you could theoretically build on. But given the fact that we're just a couple of weeks removed to that release, and you're down 50%, and over the course of 6 months down 98%, whoo lad, this is bad. This is really bad. Rockstar Studios, Rockstar Games, Rocksteady, what do I mean, Rockstar, okay? They've got their own problems with GTA 6 and figuring out when and how that's going to launch with all those, activists, the developers that are there and the ones that are too lazy to turn up to the studio. But no, when it comes to Rocksteady, right, like their next project, they're going to have another Batman Arkham game come out exclusively on VR over on Apple's platform. So unless Apple's cutting them a gigantic check, I would be looking forward to when Warner Brothers is cutting some massive pink slips for the rest of that company and shutting it down. And here's the thing, I'm not going to shed a goddamn tear, because just like BioWare, just like Naughty Dog, these aren't the studios that put out the original Mass Effect trilogy in the case of BioWare. This isn't the studio that put out the Uncharted and Crash Bandicoot games of years gone by. These are the studios that are cranking out Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League in the case of Rocksteady, not putting out a proper Arkham game. This is BioWare doing whatever the hell they're doing with Dragon Age, the Veilguard, removing more player agency of your RPG. Makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Or Naughty Dog, whenever they're going to release The Last of Us Part 3. Listening how Neil Cuckman is going to go ahead and tell us about how revenge is bad and cycles of violence, and we're going to give you time to pause your game to change your tampon in between sessions. The AAA games industry, it's in a bit of a pinch. We've seen a sales decline over on the eastern shores. Talked about that recently. While that kind of just speaks to a larger console games collapse over in Japan, you have a unique kettle of fish over here on the western front with just absolutely ideological driven decisions, and now those chickens are coming home to roost at the expense of once loved studios staring at the gallows. And at this point in time, you might love the names, but these aren't the companies that you remember. They're just simply wearing skin suits. They're wearing skin suits, mocking your favorite franchises, and then wondering why they aren't getting any love in return of parading the corpses of games of years gone by. Sucks to suck, I guess, and Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Yeah, I'm going to continue making videos on this because A, it's funny, and B, you can always count on them doing something incredibly stupid even when you thought they already hit rock bottom. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.